Have you ever snapped and then immediately thought afterwards, where the hell did that come from? I lost it on my child again. This episode is for you because we're going to talk about why. We're going to unpack it, the why, the how, and what to do afterwards. So hi, I'm Leslye. I'm a firefighter, a former fitness coach, and a mom of two. And I blew up at my child the other night, completely snapped. And I thought I was handling things really well until I wasn't. So a little backstory, if you didn't watch the last episode, what happened was that it was pretty late going to bed, and she was having a complete meltdown because her brother was sick. So my 2-year-old had a fever of like 102, and he was sick. So we gave him Tylenol, and because she wants whatever he has, that's her reasoning of being fair, she decided to have this full-on tantrum, full-on meltdown, and it lasted for 15 minutes, just up and down of emotions, up and down, up and down, up and down. I was able to settle her down, and then she started again, and it just kept going. And we tried like all the regulation tools. We did the dragon breathing or the dragon fire. We did the blow out the candle. At one point she was like, even just saying like, mommy, like I can't stop. I can't breathe. I'm so mad. So I got my hair and I'm like, okay, just blow my hair, make my hair move like this. Just little tips and tricks to like get their nervous system to regulate. Anyways, so that happened. And then out of nowhere, we had her settled. I had her settled and Hayden was still sick. And then all of a sudden she started back up again and I just lost it. Like I literally went from 0 to like, boom, like friggin' explosion. And I felt so bad, like as we all do. Like after a blowout, we just, the shame, the guilt, like, whew, it was a lot. So I'll tell you what I did right after. And then I'm going to tell you how to unpack it because that's what I do. I like to just learn from my mistakes. I do that a lot. So right away after that happened, I felt the shame, the guilt, all that stuff. My partner took her to the other room, rightfully so, like it was a good thing to do. And she was, of course, crying still. So I regulated myself because I'm like, okay, this is really late right now. I am dysregulated. I need to just calm myself down. So I did my physiological size, which is 2 inhales and an exhale. And I go through it in my masterclass too, if you want to just dig deeper into it. Anyway, so I did my quick reset. And then I went to her room. I knocked on the door and I just gave her an apology. I apologized because repair is so important after a rupture. It's so, so, so important because a child needs to know that regardless of what they did, that they are safe and that they are loved. Okay, so I went into her room and I just, gave her a knock on the door, and I knew it was just way too late to get into like the whole depth of, dissecting the whole big picture. And also like Hayden was still sick, like he had a fever, so he needed my attention. But I went to her room, I knocked on the door and I said, may I come in? She said, okay. So I went in and I just said, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I lost it. Not cool. Like that was not cool at all. I shouldn't have done that. It was a really hard moment because it was a really long time of just up and down of like emotions, and Hayden is still really sick, so I need to attend to him. So I'm really sorry that I blew up. That's not right. And I just left it at that, and I wished her a good night. I didn't even like give her a kiss or anything. Maybe I might have blown her a kiss, but I knew that at that time, like I just didn't want to impose what I wanted, which is like to give her a hug and all that stuff. But I didn't want to impose that on her. So I just reassured her that that I still love her tons. So yeah, so I apologized and I said, I'm so sorry. I still love you a lot. That never ever changed. And I left and did I feel better about myself? A tiny little bit, but I was still feeling really shitty about myself for losing it, especially like, this is what I'm teaching. Like, that's not cool at all. So I, went to bed. I went to Hayden and, I made sure he was okay. And then I was trying to unpack what happened. Not that, well, I started doing that night, but then also like the next day, and so on and so forth. And I also had a chat with my partner. And then when I was thinking about all of this, I came to the realization that I just had a Blevy moment. And I'll explain to you what Blevy is. So in firefighting, we study fire behavior, just it's part of what we do so that we can sort of predict what a situation or what the outcome of a situation may be. It's part of like scene assessment and all that stuff. Anyways, without getting too deep into it, because we're not talking about fire here, we're talking about our emotions. So what Blevy is boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. So literally like this container of boiling liquid that keeps expanding and expanding and expanding and is trying to vent, but it's not ventilating effectively. So it just literally blows up, like boom, like it's a very violent, it's not a good scene. Like Blevy situations are not good. Like it just blows up. It's this violent eruption, explosion, all that kind of stuff. And when I have, when I have a blow up like that, I call it my Blevy moment, because when I put a name to it, it lessens the shame and the guilt. And then I'm able to go and be reflective on my actions without the shame and the guilt. So we take the ego out of it. That's how I approach it. So anyway, so that's my Blevy moment, and feel free to use that as your code word if you want to. And so yeah, so the Blevy moment really is what was happening was the buildup, the pressure, all that stuff. So last episode, I talked about the stack effect. So go check out that episode. And that's a visualization of like all the internal pressure and the internal narrative, and also like your to-do list and all those things stacking up until you just, one tiny little thing will just tip the scale. And yeah, so that's what happened. That was my Blevy moment. And I realized, okay, how can I prevent myself from getting to that? Because I don't want to go there. I don't like that. I don't like exploding. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good for myself. It doesn't feel good for my family. I don't want to go there. So how can I not go there? And the thing is, it's not about avoiding conflict, because conflict is inevitable. And I think that if we can just accept that fact, that we just take the pressure off and we can just free up more bandwidth in our brain to dive into other areas. So yeah. It frees up our bandwidth so that we are able to be introspective and dive into different areas. So yeah, conflict is inevitable in all aspects of life, whether it's with your child, with your children, with your spouse, with, coworkers, whatever it is. Like it's part of life, but use conflict as data. It's information, and it's more practice for you to like level up so that each time you get better at handling it, and those Blevy moments become not so explosive. So that's the idea. Another thing is, when you're thinking about like, how can I not get to that Blevy moment? Think about, what can I do? What can I do to not go there? So things were stacking up. Maybe I just asked my partner to step in a little sooner. Maybe it's a conversation with your partner, because I think it's so important to like examine these conflicts that you have in life and then find out what is going to work as a family unit. And you talk about it. And the way, because we're both firefighters, we have like a really strong firefighter language in our home, because we both understand that. It's like, oh yeah, okay, so that's a Blevy moment. That's pretty big. And then I thought of like, hey, I needed a Mayday at that time. That's what I needed. I need someone to bail me out. I needed help. And again, like, use Mayday as you wish. You can come up with your own code word for it. Talk to your partner. I actually have a code word with my little one, with my 4-year-old, and it's bubble gum. And the more bubbles we say, the more intense the situation. So like sometimes she'll say bubble gum. That means I know that she's having a really tough time. Or I do the same thing. Like when I feel like I'm really, really triggered, and like if they just scream one more time, I might lose it. I'll say bubble gum. And it just lets them know that, okay, you know what? Instead of me having to like yell, they know that that's cue to just maybe just calm it a little bit, or whatever it is they do. Like they know. So yeah, so that's kind of my and my daughter's code word. And I realized that maybe I need one for my husband as well, because that was a Mayday situation, because I was stuck in the room with them for over 15 minutes trying to regulate myself, regulate her, and they're just, I had a sick child also. So it was a lot going on. And I think with a Mayday, I can just say, "Hey, Mayday." Like that's our code word, and that's when he tags in. Again, it can be Mayday, it can be a different word in your household. Whatever that word is, you come up with it. And a thing about Mayday is that someone else can activate a Mayday for you. Okay, so this is the part of it. So with a Mayday, if someone, so I'll run you through the fireground scenario. So Mayday can be activated by the downed firefighter, or it can be activated by someone else in the crew. When they see someone going down, then they can activate the Mayday for them, so that they can be rescued. So yeah, so I'm like, oh my goodness, like he can just activate the Mayday for me. Like if he realizes that I have been in there for 15 minutes, that's a pretty long time at like 9 p.m., then that's probably a good idea to just tag in. Just tag in and be like, hey, like, can I help? Or whatever it is. But also, like, I also have to know, again, this is why the discussion is so important, to have that common, like, playbook as to how you operate during conflict. And I have to take the ego out of it and know that when he's trying to step in to help me, it's not because I'm not doing a good job. It is because I've been at it for a long time, and it's just good to just tag out and like even just give myself a little breather. Okay, so that's the one thing that the more you practice, the easier it becomes, the more intuitive it becomes. So that's the Mayday part. And again, like use whatever code word you guys come up with, but that's the concept that I want to explain. And then, yeah, the next part is the repair. The repair is so important. Like I said earlier, it's so important for our children to learn that no matter what happens, we've got their back. We've got them. We've got them. They're not, remember, like children are born with all of the emotions and none of the tools to handle them. They don't know how to regulate. They learned how to regulate by learning from us, by modeling our behavior. So when we demonstrate that love, it's unconditional love. And unconditional, that's the whole definition. Like that's the epitome of being unconditional. That regardless of what happens, we still love our children. And we have to say that. They have to hear it. Because if they don't hear it, they will come up with their own narratives. So here's the leadership identity shift. The bloody moments teach us that the internal pressure has been built up for too long. There's too much going on, and backup came too late, and our early signals were ignored. And what are some of the early signals? They could be our shoulders rising, there's tension in our job, we're getting short with our sentences, we're losing patience, our breath is more shallow. Those are more the physiological signs. And those signs tell us that the pressure is building up. And the earlier we can recognize them, the earlier we can mitigate the problem. And leadership grows by shortening the distance between rupture and repair. Because this isn't about perfection, it's about becoming steady. And that steadiness includes the ability to come back to connect with your relationships, all of your relationships, your partner, your children, with yourself. So if you've watched the previous episode on the stack effect, you can probably see how these two pieces kind of connect and go together. And if you haven't, go check it out. So we have to recognize that sometimes the pressure builds and it stacks up, and that accelerates our internal conflict. And when it escalates, that's when it ruptures. And the work of a regulated leader is learning how to recognize and manage all three of those stages. So if this episode resonated, let me know in the comments what helped you return after a really hard moment. And if you're committed to building this kind of steadiness in your home, subscribe and stay with the season. We're building this skill one layer at a time. And if you want to understand the full system behind this work, the framework I use both as a firefighter and as a parent, watch the masterclass. It walks you through the entire Regulate, Reframe, and Repair system step by step. And I've also created a workbook. It's totally free so that you have something to guide you along when things get a little chaotic. And it's linked below. So thank you so much for staying with me. And I hope you have a lovely day. I'll see you at the next one.